everyone, it's Heather with Tropica Exotica, and today I'm going to continue my conversation on the spiritual awakening process and what actually happened to me, Kundalini activation through meeting my twin flame. And today I'm going to focus on dreams. So originally I was going to talk about psychic experiences today, but when I went back and started going through my journals, I realized that honestly the dreams were one of the largest aspects of the spiritual awakening process. So along with disrupted sleep, having these intense vivid dreams, having psychic experiences, and then trying to understand what is going on with this connection with this other person. So there's several different aspects to it that are that stand out the most. And so when I went back and looked at my journals, I realized that these dreams were really something that really were very all-consuming. And so, I'll be honest, when I went back and looked, I was actually getting depressed because I remember how just mentally exhausting that process was, because you're sitting here trying to understand and process all of these things that are coming up from your dreams. And so I'm actually really glad that part of it is over. And so if you're going through that process right now, I will offer up a few recommendations for you at the end of the video, so that maybe that will help you, because I know when I look back, it just was a very confusing time. And so when it comes to dreams, when it happens through Kundalini activation, it really starts a process where you start to look at everything, and that probably goes across the same through just spiritual awakening process in general. So one of the things that will happen is you start to process subconscious things through your conscious. So the dream time is a way for your subconscious basically to process emotions. And so it's very, very important for you to pay attention to what comes through in your dreams, because what is happening is the energy is going up through the chakras, and as it does that, it forces you to look at aspects of yourself, these past traumas that we haven't looked at or haven't healed. And so you want to remove those from your energetic field, because those impact so many different areas of your life, from relationships, your health, your physical health. So it's very important, and dreams are a big part of helping you to go do that internal work. And so one of the themes that will come up, and particularly for Kundalini energy activation, is dreaming of snakes. So within a couple of weeks of my Kundalini activation, I started having dreams about snakes. And so if you have dreams about snakes, those are good. That basically is, the Kundalini energy is represented by two snakes. And so one of the things that you'll also see in Egyptian statues is you'll see a snake coming through the third eye. And so that is representative of the Kundalini energy. And so it's important when you have these dreams about snakes to understand what the snake is doing, because that will help you understand where you are in the process. And so along with snakes, I think I probably dreamed about every animal that exists. I had dreams about turtles, alligators, guinea pigs, butterflies, sharks, owls, birds, tigers, jaguars. I even had a dream about a white tiger, and that was very exciting. I remember feeling in a sense of awe when that happened. So you'll want to pay attention to the dreams that come up, and just, what symbols come through. And then another aspect to it is, if you have a Kundalini activation through meeting your twin flame, one of the things that you'll notice is that your twin flame will start showing up in your dreams. And so for me, I actually had a dream of my twin flame. I had a dream of him leaving and a dream of him coming into my life. And these dreams were both before I even met him. And so one of the things that is very important is to journal, because a lot of times we'll have these dreams, we don't really understand them, and then you can kind of go back and understand, okay, that's what this meant. And so, and from what I understand, that is pretty common to have dreams of your twin flame before you meet them. And if anybody else were to read about this dream, they would probably not understand and be able to connect the dots. But since dreams are unique to you and the symbols are unique for your own self, I was able to understand exactly the meaning of that dream. And so when this started to happen, when this person ended up showing up in my dreams, I really did not understand, because I was not really sure what the connection was, but I thought maybe he was some sort of spiritual teacher and that's why he was showing up in my dreams. But typically when you have dreams about other people, this can be people in your own life, or it can be people, you know, that are in Hollywood, or, you know, they're on the main stage, but they can represent aspects of yourself. And so, you know, when people show up in your dreams, you can kind of try to look and see what feelings that you have about that person to see what your dream may be showing you. However, a lot of times when we have people show up in our dreams, it's because we've interacted with them. And but for me, when this person kept on showing up in my dreams, I wasn't interacting with him on a frequent enough basis, so it stood out to me, like, why does this person keep on showing up in my dreams? Like, this is just freaking me out. So I actually began to be afraid, because I did not know why he was showing up, and I thought, well, you know, he's very powerful spiritually, so maybe he's doing something to me. And another reason that I thought that was because when your Kundalini is activated, you also have your psychic abilities open up, and so I started feeling something touch me, and so I did not know if that was him or what it was, and so that was another reason why I got scared, basically. So when it comes to your twin flame showing up in your dreams, you know, I'm not going to talk about specifically the dreams that I had, but because obviously they're personal to me. But I will say that, you know, the overall theme that I got was, in our connection, I do feel like he was helping me. So I felt like he was acting as a spiritual guide in my dreams. I did have a dream indicating that he was a part of my Kundalini activation. But I also had dreams where it seemed to be indicative of what was going on in his life and what our connection was about. Another odd thing that happened, and I think that most people will probably find when they do have a connection like this, there's a psychic connection that exists between you. And so I could go to sleep, and basically before I went to sleep, I would ask him a question, and he would answer that question in the dream time. So, and that's one of the things that you have to understand is, you know, this connection is not a normal connection. It's just you're psychically connected, and so your relationship is going to be very different than a typical relationship. So if I could offer up some recommendations, what I would try to say is, although I know it's difficult, if you have a twin flame connection, I would try to say, try not to focus so much on the connection. I know it's hard, but basically the point of it is to be a spiritual catalyst for your own spiritual development. And so the point is that most of us are not whole within ourselves, and so there's a lot of healing that has to take place. And so what needs to happen is you need to have basically this balance going on between the divine masculine and the divine feminine inside. And so we have to learn how to love ourselves and you know, once we are able to do that, then we can go basically love another person. So basically we have to heal ourselves first, and you know, this is not going to be something that I don't feel like can really happen unless you're on your own, because you really need to be able to focus on yourself and try to heal those parts of yourself that are not healed. And so what I would recommend is I would try to not focus on the connection that you have, and when it comes to, you know, trying to understand and process the dreams, I would try to get your mind off of it and try to, you know, hang out with friends and not spend 80% of your mental mind just going through trying to understand, what does this mean? What does that mean? And so I would try to go out, have fun, hang out with your friends, try not to have every conversation focused on the connection. And I would also try to process the energy that you've going through with the Kundalini activation. So I would exercise to try to keep the energy flowing. I would do yoga to try to help calm your mind. And then, let's see. Now when it comes to dreams, they're kind of obviously difficult to analyze, and I can't say that I completely understood a lot of the dreams. But it's very important to at least try. And so if you can't figure them out on your own, you can also just try counseling. And as I mentioned before, you can try to do research on your own. Part of this process will include, you know, you trying to understand different aspects. And, you know, it brings up a whole bunch of questioning besides your own internal processing. You're trying to understand what's going on in general, so it brings up a lot of questioning. So you're going to start doing research on different topics, watching videos, and reading articles or books. I would also recommend going to see different alternative energy practitioners, such as Reiki and acupuncture. I would journal. Definitely journaling was probably one of the biggest things for me to try to help process your dreams. I've mentioned before on another discussion that dreamhawk.com is really good for understanding the symbols. And also you have to understand that when it comes to understanding dreams and symbolism, there are some universal interpretations, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those will apply to you. So even if you do look up something like, say, a dog, and dogs are usually representative of loyalty and fidelity, but I would not look at a dog like that necessarily if you're afraid of dogs. You might look at a dog as, okay, what kind of fear am I trying to evaluate right now? So those are some of the things that you might want to think about. And then once you look at the symbols that are showing up in your dream, you can try to piece them together and to try to understand the story that's being presented. And then once you go back over time, you can look at the dreams and try to understand exactly, you know, what is the overall story, how is the story progressing, because a lot of times dreams will build upon each other. And so I would also try to incorporate some energy clearing techniques. Now I know when it comes to the twin flame connection, everybody's looking for resources about the twin flame to understand that connection. And I agree, I did do that, and one of the places that I did go through that actually is very helpful on a lot of different levels is the website Twin Flames 1111. This is by Cassidy Kane, and she has a lot of energy clearing techniques and tools and audio tools that have been very helpful. And I will say that I have purchased some of those, and I actually feel that she is very good. She's very, very connected to the spiritual guides, and I don't really know how it works, but I'll give you one example of what happened to me when I tried some of her energy clearing tools. I was doing a chakra energy clearing technique, and it was an audio file, and as she progressed to the heart chakra, I could literally feel this type of burning sensation in my heart chakra. And then another thing that I felt was, I felt like these electrical sensations that started at the top of my back and went all the way down, and they were on either side of my spine. And so I don't really know how she does it, but I do feel like her energy clearing tools are very good. She also has a weekly kind of twin flame collective forecast, if you're interested in that. I personally just believe that her energy clearing techniques are very good, because that's one of the things that you want to try to do when you have your spiritual awakening, is to try to work on your chakras and move those blockages. So anyway, so that is part 2 of my Kundalini activation. So next week, stay tuned. I will probably talk about the psychic experiences that I've had. So thanks. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.